Hi, I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Forum Daily West. Here are some of the top stories we've been following. A string of illegal border crossings thwarted in Alberta and Manitoba result in several arrests and the death of one person. Plus, more details emerge about the Lethbridge mother charged in the death of her 13-year-old son. And the mother of an Israeli hostage recently released shares her daughter's condition and captivity story. Thanks so much for joining us. Lethbridge police shared their thoughts on the case of a 38-year-old mother charged with negligence in the death of her son. The two were reportedly using drugs on Christmas Day when the victim, a 13-year-old boy, overdosed at a South Side residence. Authorities say the mother took him while he was in medical distress to a nearby business and spent the night on the street, and the boy never moved from the ground. The mother called police the next day to report she had found her son deceased. Lethbridge police say while overdose trends are down in the city, they are continuing to track down those involved in the drug trade so that no more tragic incidents like this occur.
Well, it's tragic. I mean, let's face it, we have a young person who's overdosed with drugs, so I know we know it has an impact on our community and, of course, with our members as well. And we take that seriously and we make sure that they're looked after as well. Yeah, it's before the courts. This lady's attending court on February 7th, and, we're still working through those things and waiting for the medical examiner to get back to us. So, yeah, until that time, we're just waiting for some responses.
The mother, Blanche Isabel Irene Fick, is charged with criminal negligence causing death and failing to provide the necessaries of life. She is to appear in court on February the 7th. RCMPs say officers are investigating 4 deaths on Carry the Kettle Nakota Nation in southern Saskatchewan as homicides. They say the initial investigation suggests the home where the people were found was targeted. Mounties say 2 men and 2 women were killed, but nobody has been formally identified. A 29-year-old suspect in a gun-pointing incident on another First Nation area was arrested in Regina earlier today, but police have not confirmed a connection to the Carry the Kettle King killings.
At approximately 11:15 a.m. on Tuesday, February 4th, File Hills Police Service received a report of a sudden death on Carry the Kettle, Nakota Nation. When the File Hills Police Service arrived at the residence, they located 4 individuals deceased inside and immediately determined the circumstances to be suspicious. As a result, the Saskatchewan RCMP Major Crimes Branch was contacted to assist and has since taken carriage of the investigation. At this point, we do believe that the residence was targeted. At this time, we are not able to name the victims publicly as the Saskatchewan Coroner's Service continues their part in this investigation, working to definitively confirm the identities of the deceased.
Officers in the Canadian Border Services Agency have stopped a string of illegal border crossings from the United States into Canada. 15 people, including children, were caught trying to cross into Alberta and Manitoba in 3 separate incidents over the past few weeks. One incident resulted in the death of 1 individual. BCN's Landon Hickok has more.
Just days after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced a new federal border security plan, RCMP in Edmonton held a press conference on Wednesday announcing details on 3 separate incursions into Canada, 2 of them occurring in Alberta near the Coutts border crossing.
On Tuesday, February 4th, at approximately 7:45 a.m., an individual attempted to enter Canada through the Coutts port of entry. The male was referred to secondary inspection area. However, he fled the north from the port of entry.
Officers with the Canada Border Services Agency, RCMP detachments, and Lethbridge Police Service began looking out for the man later determined to be a U.S. national. His vehicle was spotted near the town of Raymond, where he was also sighted with a firearm.
A tire deflation device was successfully used by the RCMP south of Mill River, and the vehicle came to a stop. The male then fled on foot and was pursued by RCMP Police Dog Services and other RCMP officers. During the pursuit, the male sustained a self-inflicted firearm-related injury and was pronounced deceased at the scene.
The second event involved a group of 9, 4 adults and 5 youth traveling on foot with suitcases across the border near Coutts. The RCMP was notified by the U.S. Border Patrol on the incursion, and the group was subsequently arrested and taken in for processing. Another incident occurred in Manitoba on January the 14th. Footage from an RCMP plane with thermal imaging captured the event and alerted nearby ground units.
The commissioner of the RCMP says listing crime cartels as terrorists would help in the fight against fentanyl in the country. Commissioner Mike Duham says the listing would give the Mounties more tools to pursue charges and enforce the law. He also says appointing a national fentanyl czar would allow a single point person to have an overall picture of what's happening with the dangerous drug. U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to impose stiff tariffs against Canada over what he says is a southbound flow of migrants and drugs, including fentanyl. Energy Minister Jonathan Wilkinson says Ottawa and the provinces should discuss the possibility of an oil pipeline that runs to eastern Canada. Wilkinson says Canada is left vulnerable by exporting so much of its oil to the U.S., considering the tariff threats from the Trump administration. Trump is threatening to slap not only 25% tariffs on Canadian goods, but also 10% tariffs on energy. Coming off what seemed to be a sudden trade war between Canada and the United States, Canada's trade resilience from the states has been questioned. Canadian politicians such as Alberta Premier Danielle Smith and federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre have called for increased interprovincial and international oil and gas exports. Gwen Morgan, the former founder of Encana Corporation, once Canada's largest company, says that the nation's best opportunity ahead is liquid natural gas.
LNG is the biggest economic opportunity by far in Canada today, by far, nothing close to it. We have so much natural gas in Canada, in Western Canada, that our only way of making it, we've already got our market saturated in Canada, the United States with it. So the only way that we can make sense of all of this huge resource is to export it through LNG. There's now 2 or 3 other projects underway, and hopefully some of those other people who gave up over those years just because it was so difficult will come back as well. But it's the largest economic opportunity the country has by far of any kind.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is recruiting the mayors of Canada's largest cities to help fight off U.S. tariffs. Trudeau told today's Big City Mayors Conference in Ottawa he needs them to spread the message tariffs would hurt everyone. He says the mayors know American mayors the best and can remind them partnering with Canada is better than punishing.
You are the ones who've built relationships with the leaders of America's largest cities who understand the importance of working together. You are the ones who decide whether your lucrative procurement contract goes to a firm in Moose Jaw or Montana. You are the ones who put local diplomacy in action, making it clear that Canada is a friend and an ally, and that tariffs would harm American cities first and foremost.
Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly says Canada supports self-determination for Palestinians, which includes them not being forcibly displaced from Gaza. This comes after Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said in a social media post today that Canada, quote, previously expressed willingness to take in residents from Gaza, adding the country already has a structured immigration program. U.S. President Donald Trump said earlier this week that the U.S. could clear out Palestinians from the Gaza Strip and resettle them while the territory is cleared out and made into a U.S.-owned resort destination. The mother of one of the first hostages to be released as part of the recent ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas expressed her joy over her daughter's return. Mirav Lisham Gonen has continued to call for the release of the remaining hostages as she shared her daughter's story about her experience in captivity.
It's much easier to get up in the morning since I know my daughter is here. Still, there is a huge cloud above our head because there are still 79 hostages still held by Hamas. And since now I know a little bit of what they're going through, I know to say even more urgently that we must take them out, the ones that are still alive, that are suffering, and also the bodies of those who were murdered. But I can tell you that when she came back, her skin was gray because she didn't see sun at all, almost at all those months she was held by Hamas. They were starved some of the times when the terrorists didn't have food. They also didn't have food, but sometimes, a lot of the times, terrorists had food and they hid it from the girls.
Back here on Canadian soil, owning an electric vehicle in Alberta is about to get more expensive. Beginning February 13th, Albertans will be charged for a $200 tax when they register their EVs. The province says this amount is in line with what drivers of a typical internal combustion engine vehicle would be expected to pay each year in fuel. The tax will be collected by registry agents and online via My Alberta e-service at the time of registration and each year when owners renew their registrations. Dale Nally, Minister of Service, Alberta and Red Tape Reduction says, quote, owners of electric vehicles use the same roads as other Albertan drivers. It's only fair that they contribute to public services, including those that ensure the continued safety and upkeep of Alberta's roads. Electric motorcycles and electric off-highway vehicles such as ATVs are exempt from the tax, as are hybrid vehicles. Well, if you love swapping, now is your time. The Early Bird Swap Meet is here. This Saturday at the Agri-Food Hub, the swap meet that has been bringing communities together through swapping for 49 years will take place. The event, which is organized by the Southern Alberta Antique and Classic Auto Club, starts at 8 a.m. The organizer, Randy Ross, explains what attendees can expect.
People will rent spots, stalls, and sell or swap their car parts, lots of antiques and collectibles, old oil cans, gas station signs, anything. Well, it's just been getting bigger and broader, more different things. There's one lady that has been coming for years selling clothing. Proceeds from the event will go to charity.
Well, there was a bunch of us enthusiasts over cars, classical cars, antique cars. You might have a part that might be worth a couple $100, and if somebody needed that part, you may swap it for a $5 part. You know, I mean, that was the sort of spirit that existed in the club. There's 180 vendors and Tiffany lamps, car parts like you'd never believe, including brass headlights, taillight lenses for a 57 Chev, model trains. We're helping the climate by recycling. The secret is we're recycling a variety of things.
South of the border, during the bipartisan National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, D.C. this week, President Donald Trump said, quote, we have to bring religion back, adding that his relationship with religion changed after a pair of failed assassination attempts last year.
From the earliest days of our republic, faith in God has always been the ultimate source of the strength that beats in the hearts of our nation. We have to bring religion back. We have to bring it back much stronger. It's one of the biggest problems that we've had over the last fairly long period of time. And if I was a little more than that 90-degree angle, it would be no good. And if I was a little less, it would be no good. It had to be perfect. The thing went right along the edge. It didn't affect my hair. Can you believe that? Might have touched it, but not where it counts. Not the skin part. But honestly, it changed something in me. I feel even stronger. I believed in God, but I feel much more strongly about it. Something happened. So, thank you.
American Airlines flight attendant Ian Douglas Epstein, who was killed in the mid-air collision last week near Washington, D.C., was remembered for his devotion to family and passion for travel as a service celebrating his life was held on Wednesday in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Ian was the light of our entire class. He always had a smile on his face. He could make us laugh no matter how hard we were crying because we were so stressed out, and that was just his way, always. He made everybody feel great. I'm still in disbelief that he's gone and that all of these poor people are gone. They're called accidents for a reason. This never should have happened.
Well, on to some lighter news here. The weekend is almost here, and it's a big one because there is a giant event happening, and it's called, you guessed it, the Super Bowl. And while you may have heard of the Super Bowl, have you ever heard of the Puppy Bowl? Well, returning referee Dan Sachner teases some of the rescue pup cuteness in store for Puppy Bowl 21.
Puppy Bowl. Touchdown!
The Puppy Bowl is a miniaturized football game played on a field of about 20 feet long, maybe 30 feet tops, by adoptable puppies. They have to be between 3 and 6 months of age. They have to be up for adoption, of course, and be adorable. Those are the 3 requirements. And the best part of Puppy Bowl is that technically they all win because they all find a forever home by the time we're done airing.
That is your Forum Daily West report. I'm Jeanette Roche. Thanks so much for watching.